All right. Hey, welcome everybody to another live session with the Backyard Professor on chess. Let me get my comment section up. Hey, username, good to see you, buddy. And Jolly Troll, good to see you. What I want to do today, first off, let me just say almost Merry Christmas. I know it's crazy. What am I doing the day before Christmas Eve doing a live session when we shall all be out shopping for our gifts, right? Backyard Professor, I'm a little bit loopy that way. My timing has always been sort of off, let's put it that way. First, let me just say, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification button. And then that way you can be notified when I go live. I'm going to try to do Saturday live probably in the mornings. Sometimes it might be in the evenings. I'll try to give you plenty of notification. I was going to do this as a recording, but I went live on purpose. It just dawned on me, hey, I can do a quick live and wish everybody a Merry Christmas and all. So I was able to get about an hour and a half notification. I'm going to try to make it about a day notification if possible. So how's it? Hey, Chris Gordon, good to see you. Season greetings to you too. So, all right, I want to show this Reti game. The New York 1924 tournament was really a watershed moment in chess. Richard Reti just electrified everybody by beating Capablanca. Now, I've seen various reports. Some say he was on a 10-year winning streak. Others say it was an 8-year winning streak. We're not sure, apparently, but Reti did beat him, and I made a video of that. Reti also beat Bagaljabov, and now he's playing Alexander Alekhine, and he beat Alekhine. Now, this was 1924. Alekhine's main power was from this. He was on the front end of crisping everybody over the chessboard for the next 12 to 15 years in 1924. But make no mistake about it, Alekhine was extremely dangerous. Reti's time, his prime, is right now, 1924. So this game is particularly interesting, and I wanted to share it with you. Looks like Chris Gordon's here. Yeah, I said hi to Chris. Okay, so Reti is playing white, and again, he starts off with the knight move. Now, Alekhine goes ahead and is this going to be like a King's Indian? Let's see. Reti does a d4. Now, this isn't technically hyper-modern thinking at all. Alekhine's going to push a knight f6. Okay. Now, the bishop f4, and there's the giveaway right there. Reti is choosing to do a London against Alekhine. Now, this is kind of a, today, the London is somewhat dissed by some people, and others really, really love it. I myself, I really enjoy playing the London, but this kind of gives vulnerability to the London, doesn't it? Hilfi and Keto, because Reti plays against Alekhine, and he does good with it. He bumps the h3. I'm aware that in some variations with the London, the h3, yes, it's just a flesh wound. This is the Monty Python Merry Christmas chess game. Oh, I gotta wear a crazy t-shirt, or you think I'm normal. I don't want to be known as normal. I'm the Backyard Professor. I'm the nut job on YouTube, enjoying chats with my friends and neighbors. So this h3, I don't know so much about that. I don't think that's a good move in the variation. It's almost a waste of time. Up and you want to limit this bishop down to here and all that. I get that, but it's not that critical to do. Anyway, he did it. It's all said and done. Now there's tension in the center, and so Reti will bump the e3. He maintains the tension. It's very important. b6. Alekhine doesn't release the tension here either. He says, all right, let's hang on to it for now. So here's the thing to notice. When we try to fianchetto the bishops, we bump either G6 or B6, and it works also on the white side. If you fianchetto the B or the G pawn, if you bump it up one to G2 or B2 or 3, I mean, you create weaknesses. The white squares become weak when you bump that B pawn. The dark squares become weak when you bump that G pawn. That's just something to keep in mind, okay? Because all of the big good players always keep that in mind. So that's the trick with pawns. You push them forward, which gives them energy. This pawn is hitting the center and focusing on this square. So this is good as an advancement, and yet you also leave weaknesses behind you. So that's the upside and downside of pawns. I just want to point that out because these weaknesses of the white squares on the queen side will play a very important part in this game. Very important to keep in mind. Knight B to D2. He is going to bump up the knight, and now, isn't this ironic? Reti is the hypermodern, and that's our term for it. I don't know what you call it. Hypermodern worse. Reti is the one coming up with this style of play that Taurus just would not accept at all. And yet we see Alekhine doing more hypermodern chess in this game than Reti is. And yet Reti is the father of hypermodernism along with Nimzovich and Tartakower. So he's the one that's been fianchettoing his bishops and all that, not necessarily occupying the center with pawns. And Reti is the one occupying the center with the pawns. That's kind of fascinating to see, isn't it? So, and now bishop d3. He's going to develop his bishop, and they will both castle. Yes, castling's always good to do early on, without question. Castling is the way that, hey, CM, good to see you, my friend. Thank you for coming on. So the castling occurs on both sides, and now d6. So here's something to observe as well with this. The pawn chain, the pawns are on the dark square. So that means the dark squared bishop is the bad bishop. But in this instance, the bad bishop is outside of the pawn chain. He fianchettoed the bishop. Now, if the bishop had been here, that would suck. That is a bad bishop. But it's not. It's over here. So it's a useful bad bishop. And it is the same principle with the white, whose pawns are on the dark squares. So his dark squared bishop is the bad bishop also, but it's over here. It's outside the pawn chain. That's the one advantage of the London. You develop your bishop before you bump up the pawns in the center to the chain, and therefore it's a bad bishop by definition, but it's useful. He's got targets. And granted, at this point, they're protected. That's all good. We get that. But he's got targets and he's got influence. So bad bishops, don't let the terminology freak you out. It's all good. Let them be called bad bishops. They're being useful here. Just wanted to point that out. And now C3. Again, strengthening the center. Alekhine's going to bring the knight. And the queen comes to E2. So Reti, who has always had a good eye for the weak squares and the weak pawns, sets up a battery. He sets up a battery of the queen and the bishop coming up here to A6. There's no question what's on Reti's mind. I want to get rid of that bishop. I'll swap the bishops because the white square weaknesses on the queen's side can be helped with the white squared bishop. Get rid of that bishop, and this is permanent. Those weaknesses aren't going away, and you can take advantage of them. That's the point of Reti setting up this battery. And both the players know that. I'm coming after your bishop. Alekhine says, come and get me. He's well aware of that. So just pointing that out. So Alekhine, rather than freaking out about that, he says, all right, it's good. That's going to be your strategy. Me, I'm going to develop my pieces. I'm putting my rooks in the game. I like the C file. Of course, it's not open yet, but all you have to do is exchange a few pawns and you can open it. And it is seriously going to be opened because of the nature of the pawn structure. So that makes sense that he's going to move that rook there. Rook c8. a4. There's no question. Here comes Reti. And he's going to bump it up. So does Alekhine begin to freak out and worry about that bishop? No, he's got his eye on it, but there's no reason to worry about it. He is going to continue bringing in every single piece into this game. He is now fully developed, except that his rooks aren't connected yet. His queen has not come off her home square. She can, she just hasn't yet. But Alekhine is right on top of it. He's playing black for whatever reason. I mean, hey, somebody has to start the game, so it ended up that white starts. And so, as a general rule, white is always ahead in development. Alekhine, when he played black, just like Botvinnik was an animal at this, the former world champion. Just after Alekhine died, Botvinnik jumped in there. He always used his rooks. He never let his rooks remain idle. He put them in the game. That's what we're seeing Alekhine do. That is good chess. I want to emphasize that. That is seriously good chess. Okay, here we go. Bishop a6. So now Alekhine does something extremely interesting. I was not aware of this in my youth. For whatever reason, I wasn't taught real good chess, even though I loved it. I thought that I was forced to take that bishop now. I mean, nothing is defending the bishop, the black bishop. So he has forced the exchange. I have to take the bishop. But wait, Smirnov, Grandmaster Igor Smirnov says to take is a mistake. What does that mean? Let's take a look real quick. Number one, black is not forced to take that bishop in this exchange. He does not have to do that. Actually, he can bump back and lose the rook if he really believes that bishop is that necessary. He doesn't. But watch, what happens if he says, okay, well, I have to take the bishop because my bishop's unprotected. Why on earth would you want to give white a chance to bring in a queen on the weak white squares on your queen side? No, don't do that. So that is why Alekhine did not take the bishop. He brought his queen up. If white's going to be the aggressor, let white take it. If he doesn't want it there, I'm not going to give white a chance to increase the strength of his queen in this exchange. That's going to be a nightmare, especially when, if the queen ended up there, you've got the knight coming up, right? And you've got another pawn, and you've got another, that would be a full-on queenside onslaught with you having the weak white squares. Don't do that. Let him make the move. So that's why he brought up the queen 7. It looks passive, but it's not really. So just to ensure, okay, I've started the operation on the queen side, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to go ahead and push the pawn. I've got it backed up by the rook. Go to a5. He's got the entire pawn structure, and it is on the wing. And so the proper response to a wing attack is always what? Anybody want to mention it in the chat? Everyone knows this. Yes, good point, username. Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, the proper attack is in the center. C takes the D. Now, this is really important because that's the proper way to do it. And of course, E takes the D. So we're getting an exchange in the center. Finally, they start to relieve the tension. So Alekhine now says he attacked in the center. Don't quit. Notice he put his rook across from the white queen, right? So, and that's always a good strategic idea. Bump the pawn, go to e5. You've got, not only do you have the support of the knight now from the d7, but you've got the rook. Push the pawn and hit the bishop, right? Very good. That takes away a little bit of the influence of the bishop. So the bishop drops back, bishop to e3. And now the follow-up is knight d5. Here, I think, now I don't mind read, so I don't know. It's obvious these guys are going away. The white squared bishops are going to be exchanged. Alekhine's not going to take it, but he's not going to move his bishop out of the way, and he's not going to waste a move getting the rook out from the pin. He's just going to give up. But in the process, what would happen if I could also get the other bishop? Reti wouldn't have any bishops. So this might be interesting why he's hitting this bishop. So in essence, at this point, white really didn't get any opening advantages necessarily at all. It's just basically an even game at this point. So what do you do? What do you do? Well, A takes B and A takes B. This opens up the A file for the rook, right? Because Alekhine's rook went to the C8. Then Reti says, well, now it's time to take the bishops off the board. So the bishops exchange. The queen is on B7, taking the long diagonal. The open file is given to the white rook. And now on the queen side, the pawn majority is in favor of Reti, while on the king side, the pawn majority is going to be favorable to Alekhine. You just kind of want to keep your eye on those kind of little details like that. So here we are. Now the bishops are gone. So the queen side of Alekhine is, for all intents and purposes, in complete shambles. The queen is not going to be able to hold the queen side together. She will be attacked and chased away mercilessly. Now is the time. The last two pieces that Reti has not put into the game, he now puts into the game. The rook F to D1, grab the file, because the tension is still with the pawns in the center, and that will be exchanged. So the D file will become Reti's, and the E file will become Alekhine's. So this is how Reti sets this up. So Alekhine is saying this. He's saying, okay, now I have a passed pawn by doing this. E4. And that's what he does. He pushes it. It also hits the knight. But now it's a passed pawn, and the glorious thing about that is, sure, yeah, it's blockaded by a couple of pieces at this point, but it's got the rook back in it. So rather than exchanging and opening up the file for the rook for Reti, he pushes the pawn to E4. This hitting the knight, he goes to knight. Whoops. Wait, I'm doing something wrong. Something is wrong. Bishop takes B7, queen takes B7. E4. Sorry. He went to E4. I want to make sure I'm doing this right. From E4, he went to knight D4. Sorry, he did not push the pawn. I apologize. He pushed the knight. Yeah, I was going to say they have to exchange those pawns. So he put the knight to D4. Sorry to goof you up. Boy, you know, that's one of my bad habits I have tried to rectify through the years. So we're at a point in the game to where it's the deciding moment. And Alekhine, who is so sharp with muddy positions like this, he produces one of the most natural moves, F5. And it's a mistake. And yet you go, but really, sincerely, your pawn is so far advanced, and I know it's got the rook behind it, but when you push pawns that far, it's so much better to have them supported with your other pawns. And that actually, the F5 push really just makes it granite, right? That pawn chain, that is wonderful stuff, but that's an error. Is that crazy or what? So what I've done now, because I'm doing this live on this board instead of my electronic board, where you can just click some buttons and push the pieces back, I've pre-set up one of my chess boards so that I can put it back to this position. But I want to analyze what Alekhine should have done with you. So bear with me. This will take just a moment to get through. But this is so good because this is the moment Alekhine was waiting for, and he missed it. Now, Reti is sharp enough that he got it. He realizes something happened. Oops, Alekhine goofed. And they say it was a mistake. It wasn't just it was not good. So I got to take my glasses off so I can read this to you. Yes, knight e5. Knight e5 is the move. That's what Alekhine needed to do. Now, see, the difference is this. Yes, he is centralizing the pawn. He is strengthening the centralized pawn. He moved the pawn when in fact it was better to move the piece. This knight is not at its maximal square. It is much improved here. But why is this better? This is where the analysis shows. What happens is it blocks off the rook from the pawn, right? So you get the free pawn, and that's a good pawn. So you take the pawn, and there's the blunder for white. If white had done that, it would have goofed him up really, really bad. And here's why. After he takes the bishop at e3, and then the queen takes e3, then the knight comes to c4. And there's the kicker. Because the black queen and the black rook are lined up on the knight, two attackers. But there's only one defender, the queen. So white's going to lose a piece. That's the move Alekhine missed. Now, if in order to, that's not right either. I don't know why that D3 is there. That shouldn't be there. I don't think. Because after white comes to here, the rook just takes the knight. Blam. Done. And if the queen bumps back to avoid being taken by the knight, but she remains on the same file, then Alekhine gets another fantastic tempo for the end game by bumping f5. I mean, the idea is here. Yeah, he still has the knight. The knight can't move still. If white bops the queen down and stays on that same file, that gives him yet another great tempo. So either direction, either way, he's going to lose a piece. If Alekhine would have played that correctly, white would have lost a piece and hence the game. So that was the crucial moment. Instead, Alekhine did an absolutely perfectly natural move that was the mistake. So it's just so interesting. I don't even know why that pawn's there. I missed something. God dang it, I hate it when I do that. That pawn shouldn't be there. I'm going to make you mad and take it off. Hold on. Knight. Rook, knight, bishop, queen, knight, pawn, pawn, rook. Pawn, pawn. Okay, the knight is going to be in front here. The pawn is here. The other knight is going to be here. Knight, 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 knight. Knight, 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 knight. Yeah, right. With the bishop here. Okay, I think I've got this set up correctly at this point. At this point, this is the position that I've got on my setup chessboard that I've got to have. I preset it up. Well, I know it's easier not. It's more difficult to do it this way rather than the electronic board. And I know you like this, and I appreciate that. I'm going to stick with this. It's just more difficult for me. It's no big deal. If it's no big deal to you, it's no big deal to me. This is all fun and exciting for me. So I'm not going to get hundreds of thousands of views doing it this way. That's for sure. But we're all going to enjoy and have fun with the chess game. And I will always bring you great chess games. So at this point, let me double check real quick. I've got the setup. The queen is here, correct? The bishop. Oh, no. Yeah, that's the F pawn. This is the move Alekhine made. And that's the incorrect one. That's the mistake. Okay, I've got it all set up. Okay, so with the F4 move, which is so unfortunate for Alekhine, here we go. This is the Reti saw his opportunity, said, aha, I'm going to jump on it. Notice where he goes, the weak white squares on the queen side. Now, of course, his intention is this. Look at that triple fork. The queen, the rook. I mean, ouch. That is wicked, right? And because it's weak dark squares, there is no pawn here to prevent him from making that move. So he's got a piece. That's the point. He's got a piece. Now, in one of the ideas that I saw, if Alekhine, at this point, Alekhine had to have gone, oh. So if he would drop the bishop back to F8 to prevent that, you notice what else, because of the weaknesses on the queen side, that Reti can now do. Reti can go on pure offense here. He can steamroll him. He's got the open file with the rook, right? Rooks belong on open files. Look at that move. I mean, wow. Alekhine would be running for his flipping life here. You see that? So this is a bad situation, unfortunately, for Alekhine making that move. So what do you do in this instance? What do you do? Because technically speaking, yeah, he's coming over to the side, but he's definitely going to come back over here toward the middle, right? So Alekhine says, okay, I've got a good thing going here. I'm going to keep going. And so he does. He pushes the F pawn. One, it gains him more space. Two, he's hitting that bishop again, right? So let's see if this helps him at all. Knight goes to d6 without question. Absolutely, that's the move. You don't want to miss that. So the queen will come to c6, and Reti takes this rook, not that one, that one. Because this one, if the knight isn't taken, which it could be, but remember, the bishop also is attacked. So this one, if the knight's not taken, the knight can't do anything else. It's just stuck there. Taking this way, If Alekhine, for whatever reason, decides to take the bishop with the pawn, now the knight has this, right? So this is a really important point also to take that rook. And then there's a little analysis here that I'm not going to worry about at this point in time. The rook will take the knight. And the queen will come to c4. So now Reti is saying, okay, look, we're in an end game, or we're approaching it very fast. Reti has the pawn majority on the queen side. Alekhine has the pawn majority on the king side, and his pawns are advanced. So this is a bit of a, Reti wants to simplify the position, so exchange off the heavy pieces is what we're seeing him do here, right? And Alekhine is just virtually almost forced to do so. And so now we come to another moment of truth, which is quite remarkable. And I wanted to emphasize this with you as well, for the simple reason that it's so interesting how Alekhine handles the pressure here. When he comes to c4, Alekhine does not initiate the exchange. He comes to knight e5. To take is a mistake. Again, why though? Why? Because if Alekhine was to take, that would improve the position of the knight. Why give your opponent an improved position? Make him make another move without tempo to improve his position. In other words, Alekhine is saving time by putting his knight that is back here onto a much better square with a much better influence, rather than just taking the queen. The queens are coming off the board anyway. Let Dingle Fritz take my queen. I'm going to improve my piece. That's a really cool thing that strong chess players do a lot of. So I wanted to emphasize that just for the sake of seeing, oh, hey, okay, I get it, yeah. Because the queens are coming off the board anyway. And Alekhine is okay with that. So now, queen take, knight take. And knight to c4. So you see he bumps the knight up, but Alekhine, because he let him exchange, has his own knights in a better central spot. That's what I wanted to point out to you. Now, that doesn't mean don't hurry up and centralize. Of course, you want to centralize. Absolutely. But we see how Alekhine handled that exchange, which is really cool. And notice something else. For the last 3 or 4 moves, that pawn has been threatening the bishop. And he hasn't bothered worrying about it. That knight is threatening the bishop, and he hasn't bothered worrying about it. It's more important to make sure you're centralized, having more active pieces, because it's going to be, it's not losing a piece, it's an exchange. And it's going to happen anyway, so let it happen, but maximize your power. I think that's what Reti is thinking here. It's a fascinating conundrum. It's quite the situation here. So, finally, once he does this, notice how Alekhine does the exchange, though. See, we're in approaching an end game. He's got the pawn majority. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3. Yeah, these two are bumped up forward, but they're still the pawn majority. It wouldn't be nearly as effective to take the bishop with a pawn, double your pawns, and then you're stuck 2 to 2. you lost your majority, right? So it is better in this instance, and this is how Alekhine did it, to exchange it with the knight. So he takes it with the knight. And from there, it's really interesting that from this point, after he, oh, no. I apologize. I lied. He did not take the bishop. Oh, I'm blowing this. No, he did not take the bishop. He took, I got to take off my glasses. Sorry. I'm glad I played through this enough. Yeah, knight takes c3. My C looks like an E. I apologize. This is important because this is where Alekhine said it was a move of desperation. He did not take the bishop. He took the pawn. He knew Reti was simplifying the endgame, so he took the pawn. And he said it was an act of desperation because he was trying to make it so that he didn't have a pawn majority and he thought he could beat him on the king side. That's why he took the pawn instead of the piece. Yeah, I knew that looked funny. Now this looks like what I remember. And now at this point, yes, F took the E3. Now, what is really interesting here, it's Reti who, I knew there was a knight that took a pawn. I apologize, a piece. Reti took it with the knight, blockading the pawn. And now the bishop comes alive and takes the pawn. So he's got a pawn. Yes, this is an isolated pawn and it is blockaded. There's 3-2, but he's got the extra pawn, right? So in an end game, maybe, potentially. So get rid of the pawn. And what does Reti do? Rook AC1. Kablam. What a tactic. Now, and this is something else that makes this so much fun for me, playing through these guys. Even the greatest, that's an actual simple tactic. Seriously. When you have, with rooks, any piece that you put on the same file, you have a tactic with a rook, right? So unless it's another rook, but pieces like bishops and knights or a queen and a knight or whatever, it happens to the greatest players. So the knight, the bishop takes this, the knight came to d4. And what Reti did here is remarkably interesting. It protected the knight with the bishop, right? So which piece is hanging? The bishop. Did you notice that? The bishop's hanging. That's not good. You're going to lose a piece. Reti went like this. What? King F1? Are you nuts? Dude, you have the bishop. If he would have took the bishop, the knight would have forked the king and the rook. It would have blown it for him. Reti was sharp enough to see that tactic. Very clever of Alekhine. I'm just saying. That's really cool. But that's really extra cool that Reti also saw the tactic and he said, nope, I'm not falling for that. That's kid stuff. I'm above that. I'm going to move my king to f1. Also, moving it out to centralize the king because now you're in an endgame. So I thought that was really kind of cool. So now Alekhine goes knight b5 to protect the bishop finally because his tactic didn't work. So protect the piece. You don't want to lose the bishop, right? Kablam. Rook d5. Alekhine's nightmare. So both pieces are still under attack and you're going to lose one. So it was here that Alekhine resigned. And the end speculation is really interesting too. Let me share this with you. I wrote it down because it was so cool. You say, well, now wait a minute. Wait a minute. Maybe he can find a way out of this. Hold on. If the bishop does go to B2, let's say that technically the bishop went to B2 to try to prolong the game, then the rook goes to B1. And you're right back to where you started, except now the rook is also hitting the knight still. So you're not out of the woods yet, right? So if you went to knight C3 and you said, okay, that's good, I'll do that. You take the bishop, the knight gets your rook, but the knight gets your knight. And you're up a piece and you win the game. So that's the idea with this end game, that Reti defeats Alekhine. And this is huge. This made a lot of news. So anyway, that's the game. I'm sorry I kind of blundered a little bit earlier. I don't know what I did wrong. I swear to goodness, I had this written down. I've got to take time to write my E's and C's better for sure. But hopefully that didn't goof up the game for you. Reti versus Alekhine, New York, 1924. You can look it up. So it's a lot of fun. Anyway, oh, well, thank you, Jolly Troll. That's very... Hi, Maki Z. And John, whoa, you made it, John. Way to go, dude. So anyway, that's basically what I wanted to do. Yeah, Merry Christmas to everybody. Thank you for showing up. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification button. I do have a PayPal if you would like to donate. I know it's Christmas, so don't worry about it right now, but sometime in the future or now, whatever. You can do super chats in the comment sections if you would care to. On all of my lives, whether it's the Mormonism live, the chess live, whatever. I'm not going to beg you for money. That's not my point. It just kind of does help to keep me trucking and going and keep the enthusiasm. So I want to end by saying Merry Christmas to all of you. Let's have a good holiday. And really, truly, next year is the year. Next year, we're all going to elevate ourselves in chess, especially the Backyard Professor. I've got plans. I've got the capability. I've got the chance now. I'm really going to seriously bite the bullet and quit letting life get me down, I hope. Famous last words. And we're going to have a lot of fun. I've got some options available now that I can do live streaming. And I'm back with a vengeance. I'm trying to produce a lot of videos for you. And it's a lot of fun. And I can even do some fun shorts with the different tactics. So everything is good. Yes, Merry Christmas, username. Thank you for showing up. It's good to see you. I do want to get back into the chess club, the Backyard Professor Chess Club on Leeches. I do have some people who are beginning to challenge me on games and stuff that I will do with them. I will do some live games here in this format starting next year. I still don't quite know how that's going to work. I'll figure it out. We're here having fun, learning chess, sharing our knowledge, and having a good time. So anyway, okay. Thank you much. Go out and get your shopping done if you haven't done it. If you've got your shopping done, congratulations. Sit and relax. The fat man in the red suit and the reindeer is on the way very soon. So I will catch up to you. Let's see. Next week is going to be New Year's. I might be able to do a New Year's live too. We'll see. We'll see how I'm doing. I will try to give you a bit longer advance notice before we all go party on the 1st. Maybe on the 31st we can do another live session. So, all right, you guys. Thank you. Appreciate y'all. Have a good day, and I'll catch up to you soon. I'm going to go out and try to wrap up some loose matters, and I'm thinking of y'all, and I'm thinking of more chess moves. Got lots of great chess games to share with you. See you soon.